It's time for the Savour Food Podcast with Southwest Florida's favorite chef, Matt Geiger. Hey there, Charlie McDermott, back in the Savour Food Podcast studio with none other than Matt Geiger himself. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good today, Charlie. Good.
That's good to hear because we were going to talk about venues and special events that you guys specialize in with catering. But then we woke up over the weekend and we found out that there's this little storm coming our way. And I thought, maybe this is a good topic to talk about.
This is a perfect topic, I feel like, especially because we haven't had one in a while, and giving people ease of mind when events like this happen. It's already a tough situation, in my opinion, for people that are throwing an event to go through. Not only have you sent out invitations, you've gotten everything ready, you've booked all your caterers, you booked the venue, you booked flowers, all this stuff is supposed to happen. And, being in Florida, you never know when, a natural disaster is going to come through. And, a hurricane, unfortunately, is one of those things. So,
so for our listeners, if hopefully I'm going to say a name and you're going to go, what was that? Because hopefully it's a non-event, but we right now are looking at what has just become, I think, a hurricane, Hurricane Ian. Mm-hmm. And it's down below us, and it's supposed to track, I guess, along the west coast of Florida. And you never know with these things. But go ahead.
So, we looked at it a couple days ago. It's coming right for Fort Myers. Now it looks like it's tracking a little bit west. But you never know with these things. It's Mother Nature. So, it could stop and turn right, or it could, go way out. We don't know. It's going to hit land somewhere, but, it is unfortunate. And, like I was saying before, when people are planning their events and their weddings and stuff like that, it's not a bad idea to keep some months in mind. You know what I mean? So, if you're obviously you think you don't want your wedding in the summer because it's blazing hot, but maybe you push your wedding a little more into the fall, winter to get rid of that hurricane probability. Yeah. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, we try to be as fair as possible. We never turn anybody away or just say, no, we're not doing it or anything. We generally would leave it up to the client. And obviously depending on when it would hit. If it hits on the day, sorry, there's nothing I can do about it at that point. But,
you wouldn't want to put your team at risk, or for that matter,
it just doesn't. Obviously everybody's going to go, and there's going to be a stay-at-home order. There's going to be all this stuff. So it's pretty apparent at that point that it's not happening, that your event or wedding is not happening.
That's an easy one, right?
The
after.
And that's another thing too, is that you don't know how long after we're going to be fixing back up, or we don't know how bad it's going to be. Maybe it's just a lot of rain and we're back to normal in a couple of days, or like Irma a few years ago. My house didn't have power for 11 days.
Bingo. Yeah, we're over 2 weeks.
God, it was something that I'd never experienced in my whole life. That was my first hurricane experience, was Irma. So, I just wanted to let everybody know, even before we get to like stories and stuff, that should something like this come by, we have deposits, we have stuff. We're never going to turn you away. We'll absolutely reschedule your event or wedding. We are so understanding about this kind of stuff, and we don't ever want people to think that we're going to try to take advantage during a time like a natural disaster. So, but we have to be fair about it, because the business would lose out on it, and the business still costs. So I don't want to say that I'm just going to give everybody back everything at the blink of an eye, but let's have a discussion about it.
In your case, and just to, I guess, educate everyone, and it makes sense. I know from what little experience I have with having my own restaurant is, you're buying food ahead of time. It's not
you're
like
buying
you wake
food
up the morning of the event. It's not going to last forever, right?
Right. And again, it all has to do with timing and all of that stuff. Yeah. And a good example, it wasn't a hurricane, but a good example was when COVID happened. Yeah. So when COVID happened, nobody thought that would ever happen, right? Nobody just thought one day the government would just shut us down and not give us a choice of whether to go to work or not, or school or whatever. Nobody ever thought that was going to happen. So that was a really eye-opening experience, and it made me adjust my contract a little bit, because I don't want to be in a position where, I can cripple the company and have to refuse service to future clients and stuff. But I also don't want to be apathetic in the way where I don't care about what's going on with my current clients. So during COVID, we gave 90% of our deposits back. And then a good amount of them, they just rescheduled, And for that, we had one gal, she's seasonal. So she comes down here every year, and she had a couple small events booked, and it took her till this season to finally have a party from COVID. And we still honored her deposit, of course, even though it was 3 years ago, it was in the books. We totally get it. And she was really nice about it. She wasn't difficult at all and understanding. And, the more understanding people are, the more understanding we can be, because we can have a normal conversation about it. So, we want to make sure everybody's comfortable with their investment, because weddings and big events are investments. It's a lot of money to put out on one day that should go perfect. And when a hurricane comes through, it really, really hurts you. So we want to be very, understanding of that kind of thing. And, I heard horror stories of, photographers and DJs and stuff that wouldn't give deposits back and didn't reschedule. And it just, I don't want it to be like that, So I'm trying to run my business in a way to where we can be able to help people out that need the help, because we would want it. Right. So, but COVID was a big eye opener for that thing. So now in my contract, just, again, to educate people, we still stick to our, 3-month tear down of how much deposit you get back. Should a natural disaster happen, obviously it's something we have to talk about, one-on-one, and every case is different. Depending on how much we both have in on the event is going to majorly rely on it. And I would never take anything for nothing. There would always 100% be an option of rescheduling your event. That's 100% always the option. There's never, it's never going to be like we take it and you get nothing for it. I'll never do that to one of my clients. It's wild that people would even consider something like that. But I
think that's like a fear mentality, for business owners. If they resort to that, they're just fearful that there's no other business is going to be out there, and oh my goodness, I better grab the dollars. But
in my opinion, you're that bad news travels fast.
Oh yeah,
and there are vendors out there that did have a philosophy like that, and we heard about them instantly. And vendors don't want to work with other vendors like that. Not only customers. So if I was working with a vendor and I found out they did wrong, in my opinion, to a client, I don't want to work with that vendor either. So it's a big deal when you mistreat brides and people and clients. Especially, I have a really tight knit group of vendors that I work with closely, and we all have each other's backs, and we all help each other out, and we all stay in open communication. And when we work with somebody that's not in our group, it shows. So. But when it comes to hurricanes and natural disasters, I just want people to know that they're going to be taken care of. We're not going to do anything shady or weird or anything like that. We want them to be comfortable, especially on something like their wedding day. We want that to be special, and a hurricane is a big way to remove that feeling. But when it finally does come back around, we want it to be like it never happened. So,
and as we've discussed in the past, Matt, you have a following outside of Southwest Florida, and this is a good thing, whether you're other side of Florida or along the East Coast during hurricane season. Might be a good idea just to bring this up. Conversations with your caterer and other vendors for your big day, just to know how it's going to be handled, so you're not panicking when you see a storm out in the Atlantic.
For sure. And in a lot of caterers, we get sometimes brides and stuff will send us, other vendors' contracts, just to make sure we're
Yeah.
comparing, right? And you'd be surprised on how many caterers don't even have terms or a
Right.
contract or any sort of information at all about anything,
Yeah.
and I don't wear glass walls here. We want you to know everything up front because, we want to work with you and we want you to want to work with us,
Yeah.
you know, and for us to do that, we have to be completely transparent. I mean, I
Yeah.
see it all the time. And, you
Yeah.
just can't run a business like that. You can't have any surprises or anything. So if something comes up that's not in my contract, I'm real quick to add it in there.
Yeah. Well, that comes from experience
Yeah.
and continuing to raise the bar and, like you've been saying, do what is right
Right.
for your clients. So let's talk about peace of mind, because if I have a wedding and, hey, if a hurricane hits, I get it, all bets are off. But,
Hmm.
hey, day or two or three or a week after,
Hmm.
you're probably concerned as well, maybe losing a little sleep. What if the venue damage, no
Right.
electricity and all that? What do you guys do to just provide your clients that peace of mind that, hey, in the worst case, the show will go on, as they say?
You know, if when it comes to just the catering, because again, we do just mainly the catering, even though I have other vendor friends and I know how everything else works, I can only speak on my behalf because I don't want
Right.
to have anybody, mad at me that their wedding planner or someone didn't do what I said.
Yeah.
But, for us, it's a simple call or a meeting at the office or something to figure out a plan. A plan is going to make everybody feel a little bit better than just, again, staying up all night thinking, oh, the worst. So
Yeah.
should something like this happen, we could get proactive and discuss a plan ahead of time before the bad thing happens. Or after the fact, we schedule a time, we come in, we say, okay, it was this date. Obviously, I can't push other events out of their way because they've already booked. But generally, we can get people in on Fridays or Sundays if they haven't been booked. And if you're lucky, you might get another Saturday back.
Yeah.
I would, if I was my client and you invited a lot of people, I probably wouldn't make it as soon as a week later. I'd probably push it back like a month just to give everybody time to
Yeah.
request their
Yeah.
time off,
Yeah.
book their flights, a week would be a little too quick.
Yeah.
Or you can go the opposite route and just do a small elopement style wedding and not have the 100 people and do
You might like that better.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of plans. So sitting down with us and coming up with a legitimate plan that we can at least say, okay, well, we're going to try to do it around this date. We can get all of our vendors in order. Hopefully they can get it too, because again, you have to push it out like a month because I'm not the only vendor.
Yeah.
Right. So,
what I love about you, and I learned this from other episodes, is because you're doing events outside and without power
mhm,
and things like that. Again, making the assumption that the other vendors can do the same,
mhm,
that you're able to still hold the date
mhm.
because it doesn't matter. You don't need
Right,
electricity, for
right,
example, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of other vendors in line. So, that would have to be discussed too. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me
All right.
turn that
It's
phone
it's
off real quick.
it's probably one of your clients going, "Oh, Matt, there's a hurricane coming." So Matt is back, and for our listeners, just so you know, we record these typically early on Monday mornings, and Matt just had what'd you do? Like 8 events over the
Yeah, we did
weekend,
8
or
events over the weekend.
oh my
More than I
goodness.
like to, but sometimes you just got to power
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. And credit to Matt and his team. Obviously, Matt's in early, his team isn't. And he could have easily let that call go to voicemail, but that's not the way you operate.
Right, right, correct. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that interruption. We're gonna have to get
No, no.
re-going on what we were talking about.
Yeah, well, I was just making the point that I know from other episodes, you come prepared because stuff happens, whether it's
Mm,
a hurricane or just power goes down, right?
yep,
You've got refrigerators and the ability ovens because you have generators to just kind of
yep,
keep the event going,
yeah,
rain or shine. Yeah,
yep, and God willing, we'll do it. And that's the biggest thing is I tell people this all the time that as important as the food is, because obviously I'm a chef. I'm a chef of 16 years. The food's very important, but service is why I cater. We should be working together with everybody. So yeah, you know.
well, Well, just to summarize this, I think the biggest point is whether you're in Southwest Florida, Naples, Fort Myers, Estero, or any place else in the country, because up north it's blizzards, right?
Right.
I've been there in Pennsylvania, and just for 3 days, I mean, you're locked down. And
Yep.
if you had a wedding or an event, oh well. Just make sure you cover that with your caterers, Matt mentioned, and so that there aren't any surprises, and that you can,
Yeah.
hey, if you wake up and you see a weather report that doesn't bode well for your event, at least you know there's a game plan, as Matt suggested, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's not a bad thing to ask your caterers, what if blank,
Yeah.
what if this happens, what if that happens, what if we get shut down, what if there's a hurricane. Inclement weather is something that we do on a regular basis. I can't say that we're gonna be, just because it rained, we're gonna move all the stuff around, because this is Florida. It rains every day.
Yeah.
Usually there's a backup plan at the venues or something like that, but big stuff, hurricanes, shutdowns, there's nothing you can do about it. If there's nothing I can do about it, I'm going to absolutely sympathize with my client.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. This is what it is. I want to build a strong company with morals, and I'd rather take longer to grow it in that fashion rather than try to grow it faster and have subpar service and subpar everything else. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that makes sense to me, that being that, take care of your clients first, and everything else takes care of itself.
Of course.
From a business growth standpoint. Yep.
Yeah. We don't look at it as we're taking care of this one client because they might do something else. We do an event for 100 people. That's 100 potential clients.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not just the person that hires us. We think about that stuff. I say it in our meetings all the time. If we're going to a dinner party for 15 people, it's got to be the best, because the 15 people at that dinner party could be these people's neighbors, and they might want to do one of their own. And that's how we build our clientele. And in the 3 years that we've been open, I'd like to say that that's why we've been building such a great clientele. I want it to keep growing that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great outlook.
Yep.
Well, Matt, appreciate you
again
coming in early. I'm sure when the alarm went off this morning, you were like, "Geez."
On normal weeks I don't, but today it was a little rough getting in here. Usually I'm in here like 30 minutes to an hour before we get started. I got in here like 10 minutes before.
Well, you have a secret weapon, and I've been to your place, and man, the coffee is awesome, which leads me to the next question. Mm-hmm. How's the new place coming along?
Well, we finally found architect. We kind of got pushed back. The county here in Lee County, they
I've never heard that.
They're not very consistent. And I called about 4 months before we even started the project to make sure I did everything correctly. Now we're halfway through. The floor's open, the plumbing's ready to be inspected, the electrical's ready to be inspected, and they're kicking back our permit. So now they're wanting full drawings, full everything, which I understand why, but it pushed us back probably 5 weeks at least. So
for our listeners, just so they know, and we're recording this, it's the end of September 2022. Maybe this is 2024 when you're listening to this, but where is it located, Matt?
So the new catering kitchen and coffee shop is going to be on 41 in Island Park in Fort Myers. It's an old Publix Plaza. There's a couple other restaurants in there, Vincenzo's, Clam Bake. The old Rusty's used to be in there before it got shut down. And we're taking a couple units over there to make a new just a better fitting catering facility for us, try to get us all under one roof. Right now we're kind of split up. I have an office with my equipment here where I'm at now, and then I have a kitchen off site. And, I'm trying to put everybody under one roof so we can, be more efficient and take care of things a little bit better. And we have plenty of room in there. So, I decided might as well utilize the space and start a new brand called Savour Coffee. And I'm really excited about that. I've been wanting to open up a coffee shop since, I was young, and that was my first job. So this is a good opportunity for me to do that. So I'm really excited, but all this construction and stuff is just not my wheelhouse. And I'm just like, come on, let's go. Let's get this done. Season's right around the corner. I don't want to be moving in the middle of season. So I'm hoping that we'll be done in November. Coffee shop probably won't be open until December or January. just so we get our bearings. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, good for you. Well, keep us posted on future episodes here. And batten down the hatches there. We wish you guys the best and safety there.
Absolutely.
And hopefully when we get together again, we'll be chuckling about how Ian just kind of evaporated in the Gulf and didn't affect anyone.
Right. Let's pray for that. Awesome. Thanks, Charlie.
You got it, man. Thank you for listening to the Savour Food Podcast. To learn more about Savour First Choice Catering, go to SavourFirstChoiceCatering.com. That's Savour, S-A-V-O-U-R, First, F-I-R-S-T, Choice, C-H-O-I-C-E, Catering, CATERING.com, or call 239-351-5547.